The presenting sponsor for OnEducation is Schoology. Schoology's passion lies in helping instructors and students have the best education experience possible. Schoology is a collaborative, student-focused, and faculty-centered learning management system. Students love Schoology because it gives them 24/7 access to course materials, real-time feedback from their instructors, and easy-to-use collaborative tools. Teachers love the streamlined workflow, integrated apps such as Google and Microsoft tools, and the ability to view evidence of student learning for making instructional decisions. To learn more about what is possible with Schoology, simply visit Schoology.com.
Oh boy, yeah, you and I would be fist fighting.
Oh my God.
Welcome to On Education. I'm Mike Washburn.
And I'm Glen Irvin. Friends, we have an awesome pod for you today. We will recap the best podcast moments from 2018, discuss another controversy with Teachers Pay Teachers, run down the best EdTech tools of 2018 according to Common Sense Media, and our guest this week is Diana McGhee from Fort Thomas, Kentucky.
So happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's awesome.
2019.
I know, it's crazy.
We are recording this on New Year's Day, I guess.
New Year's Day. So it is the first of the year.
And neither of us did anything last night.
No, we were just talking about it. It was at my age, it was a nice peaceful evening at home with the in-laws and my kids and my wife, and we played some board games. And
we watched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them with the kids.
That's a good one, right?
In the late kind of afternoon, early evening.
Yeah.
And then when they went to bed, we watched Hunger Games because I don't know, I've been wanting to watch Hunger Games again for a while. So we watched Hunger Games and then we just went to bed. Too old for this nonsense. Tired.
So no clubs, huh?
No.
No
God.
Toronto
and it was
clubs.
Freezing rain up here. Most of the day, and like a really good band, a good Canadian band, Sam Roberts Band, for any people listening who know Canadian music that generally doesn't make it to the States. Sam Roberts was playing in Barrie, and he's solid. It would have been a great concert, but I'm just too tired and old to go stand out in the middle of the rain to listen to, you'd have to pay me to do that, and even then you'd have to pay me a lot.
And that was outdoors, Mike?
They do it. I think it's outdoors. I should have probably checked, I guess, but yeah, I think it's outdoors. So
you guys
it's pretty
are
dumb.
A lot tougher than we are.
Yeah.
Although I'm in
it's
Minnesota,
actually funny.
It's the same thing. I mean, as your fellow Ontarian pointed out, we're actually further north than you guys.
You are indeed further north than me, which is funny. Christmas. How'd you make out? Did you get anything cool for Christmas?
My kids, they know that their dad loves sugar, so I got a lot of candy, and then that's like the exact opposite of what I want to go ahead and be doing for my New Year's kind of resolution thing. They're
enablers.
Exactly. So I have all of these piles of red vines and all of these other types of candy that I used to eat. And I've been trying to make sure that I don't do my typical thing, which is devour them all. And
sure,
I'll spark
That's
them up
funny.
for 2019. That would be fantastic.
I got an Apple Watch. That was the plan.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that. And Cheryl, I got Cheryl tickets to the Book of Mormon, the production.
Yeah, the play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or musical.
We've been before. It's coming back to Toronto, actually. So we're going in, I guess, actually, I really kind of screwed this up. We're going the day before ISTE.
Oh, wow.
So I actually might not be at Badge Summit.
Oh, the day before. I get you. Yeah.
Right. So the Saturday.
Gotcha.
So I kind of screwed that up.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Wow. I gotta what I should do is switch. I picked the last Saturday of its run.
Yeah.
I should call them and say, listen, can I just change it to the week before?
Switch it up. Yeah.
or something like that. Anyways, we got news to talk about. We have a couple of things on our list here, and let's go through them. This article, a new study shows that students learn way more effectively from print textbooks than screens. And I think they should have edited the headline should say, reading from it. Like it's not implying, I don't know, maybe it is, but I just reading, they're talking about reading textbook versus reading the same textbook on a screen.
Yes.
Is what we're comparing,
exactly.
right?
And really, though, it felt like the headline was basically another anti-screens, anti-technology post so that it would be clickbait. People use it to justify why you should not move towards utilizing any kind of tech, which is ridiculous. As far as reading, that's a total preference, I think, depending upon the person, and we should definitely have that available for our students, whether they want to go ahead and actually have the print. A lot of my students did want the actual physical, book if we ever used it, especially to, if you were reading like these little novels that we did in Spanish. We had the physical versions and we had the digital ones. Many students just preferred the physical versions, and I totally had those available for them. And just like adults, though, too, don't you think? A lot of people love the Kindle, like to be able to.
Yeah.
But some people, like my wife, just prefers that physical book.
Yep, my wife does too.
Exactly, and there's no judgment either way. I just don't think that saying that you learn more from one from the other, that's just such a limited study, if you want to call it that. It's not even a meta-analysis as far as, really diving deep into this. So it's hard to take these things seriously.
It certainly doesn't need to cause a fight or a divide between the two things. Read however the hell you want.
Exactly.
And let kids read however the hell they want. What does it matter?
Have those things available for them so that they can do either of those things. Just exactly as we talk about when you're doing choices as far as to do in class, have a variety of different options so that not all of them are based in tech, so that students can create, on pencil and paper or whatever else it might be. And you give those options there, because that's how we are as humans. We want a diverse amount of things, but you can't just demonize the screen. It's bad. And I haven't seen that way too often.
This article made me think of a situation when I was in university in my undergrad. I had bought some of my textbooks, like the required reading, on Kindle.
Oh yeah.
And I think for a couple of my teachers, I was the first person who had done that.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to like have a talk about how to properly cite a Kindle location in a paper.
Oh yeah.
Because
it's different.
Because it is different. They refer to the location, not necessarily the page, because it's not the same, right?
Because you adjust the screen size for your preference, right? So it's going to be a different number of pages as far as a book.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was interesting. So the first time it happened, they were like, what is this? And I said, I got my books on Kindle. So, I mean, if you have a problem with the citation, let's at least sit down and talk about how we can agree should look.
Exactly.
And then I'll do it that way. I don't care. But I'm not going and buying the paper textbook just because you can't handle the way I cite it.
Yeah, exactly. No. And that's super important. I was learning from everybody, from the student side and the teacher side too. Now they're like, okay, they're aware of that's actually happening. Yes.
So, I mean, maybe some kids read better with paper, like physical books. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem when you make people click the article to, because you think it's going to be like a bash on technology in general, just to tell us that some kids read better with physical books.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yes.
Anyways. So, yeah, I think that's something we already knew. Hey, your favorite punching bag is back in the news.
Yes. So Teachers Pay Teachers is back in the news, and this time with something new. So this time,
profiting from stolen work.
Yes, exactly. So there was and it hasn't just been this one person, but the article centered around this specific educator
Yeah.
who had all of these materials, kind of like what we talk about all the time as far as posting your materials for free, right? On their blog post or through social media. And they were sharing all of these different types of materials. And I think it was math related. And then she ended up finding is someone actually, texted her or let her know that, hey, I just saw your free materials, but someone just posted them on Teachers Pay Teachers to be able to make money off of them. So, and then I guess this is a pervasive problem that's going on Teachers Pay Teachers. Basically, people using other people's either free work or published work or whatever it might be, and then reselling it on Teachers Pay Teachers to be able to make money. Or even what's the funniest one, as I thought, is that there's people, I mean, it's not good, but I just thought it was kind of ironic that some people are stealing things from like actual textbook publishers and then posting them on Teachers Pay Teachers to be able to make money, which of course is illegal. Don't do that. But I just thought it was ironic that the textbook publishers then were getting the workaround too.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, Teachers Pay Teachers should be responsible for this. Like it's their location, it's their storefront, and you can't allow people to sell material that's copyrighted by someone else,
exactly,
or being stolen or ripped off or plagiarized. I mean, it's insane. It's funny because when this showed up in our notes, I went and looked because I sell one. We've talked about this before. I sell one thing.
Yeah, you have one item
on everything else now. Actually, it's funny. We did this just the other day when we were talking. I had other things for sale for prices, and I turned them all free. I wasn't selling anything other than this one thing. I've made one thing that's really popular, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And so that I've sold, and I've joked before, it basically funds my World of Warcraft subscription. But I wanted to actually go on and see if anyone had ripped it off. And thankfully, no one had ripped off my exact thing.
Yeah.
But there are other versions of a similar, like the same idea.
Okay.
Not many, and I'm biased, but mine looks the best out of the other couple choices. But there are a couple other people. But I was interested to see if something that I made had been ripped off. It must be a big enough problem to make articles out of it. Like, yes. It can't just be like a 1 or 2 person thing. And who are these people?
That's sad.
Like, really, right?
That's sick.
Like, what kind of person are you that you just
it must not.
What is wrong with you?
Though, is it probably isn't even an educator. That's what I say. It's just someone from the outside figuring out a way to be able to make some money, and then they figured out kind of a system to be able to do so. Getting popular materials, being able to post them on that site, and then be able to sell them. The one part that I did remember seeing there too, Mike, that you're talking about as far as their responsibility with Teachers Pay Teachers is that it's very difficult to have these materials flagged. So this person in the article was saying, hey, I found this thing. It looks exactly like mine, except for one thing has changed. Can you pull it off? And she found it very, very difficult to have that actually happen. So like you just said, they're responsible for it. They need to be able to at least temporarily pull it down and then have an investigation done so that, people's stuff doesn't get, especially because this person just posted all these things for free. And then someone decided to go ahead and profit off of it, which is sad.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And like people, it's just astounding. The amount of money that people make too on this is incredible. Ridiculous. We talked about this earlier in the week when we were talking as well. And I was just like punching numbers into the calculator and I'm like, holy crap. There are people that are literally millionaires.
Yes. There are millionaires out there from Teachers Pay Teachers.
It's unbelievable.
The American dream.
Unbelievable. I tell you, I mean, I don't have the same problem with teachers pay teachers that you do, in the sense that I get the idea of people using their knowledge and time to earn an income in whatever way they can. So I get it. Anyways, teachers pay teachers.
There we go again. It's going to be I wonder what's going to happen in 2019. I can't wait.
I bet you can't. It's definitely good for us for content.
Yes, absolutely.
They are a regular punching bag on education for Glen. When we come back, we're going to give you a rundown on Common Sense Media just came out with their top 20 best of EdTech, and we'll see what we like there, and we'll see if there's anything they missed. So stay with us.
Quests. One of Classcraft's most popular features, with over 100,000 lessons created by teachers and 3 million learning objectives completed by students so far, is now part of Classcraft's free offerings. In 2019, your students won't just be learning multiplication, chemistry, or any other content. They'll be saving the kingdom. Transform your lessons into adventures with Quests today. Visit classcraft.com for more information.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. Common Sense Media just released, I guess they must do this at the end of every year, but they just released their best EdTech tools / apps / whatever for 2018. It's a list.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting.
There's a lot of stuff on here I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting. I thought it would be like kind of the big time stuff, and then maybe a few things that you're like, oh, I should check into that. And it was more like, there's a lot of things I've never even heard of. So then I had to go investigate.
Obviously, yeah, really. So obviously we've heard of Khan Academy. I've heard of Maker's Empire.
Yes.
Discovery Tour.
That's one of my favorite things on this list. Assassin's Creed made a game-based learning version of their Ancient Egypt game. And basically you could go and tour Ancient Egypt without the normal Assassin's Creed, which would be going around and, slaughtering things or whatever might be the role play.
Sure.
So it's more of a immersive experience. You can walk around, study things without having that part in there. And I've heard super positive things about that. So I will definitely be checking that one out.
I thought it was cool that Florence was on here. It's right at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, Florence.
Because it's like it's like a game, but more like a narrative experience.
Yeah, that was Paul Darvasi talked about that to me at some point.
Yeah.
And he was using it in class, or was talking about why he would use it in class. And I thought that was fantastic too. So there is some game-based learning in here.
Yes, thankfully.
Yes. There was some different types of, I would call them like makerspace kind of things, some robot types things like the Cosmo, which you're familiar with, right?
Yeah. I was actually surprised that some of the Wonder Workshop apps didn't actually get, like, if you're going to list Cosmo, and this other one, Evo by Ozobot. I mean, some of those Wonder Workshop apps have like 40 or 50 coding lessons built right into them. Like, there's like almost whole curriculums in some of these Wonder Workshop apps.
Who's the Cosmo competitor, Mike, or what's some of your robots that are part of Wonder Workshop?
Well, so Cosmo's a little robot. It'd be similar. Like, you would teach it similar to the range that you would teach like Dash.
Oh yeah, the Dash and Dot, those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. The Evo, Ozobot, is a little tiny thing, and it's interesting. I would say it's probably maybe primarily for younger elementary age students. You mark with a marker on a piece of paper, right? And you can use different colors, and the different colors signify different things that the robot is going to do along that line. So it travels along the line, and when it gets to red, for example, it'll do like a little trick, go backwards or do a spin. And you can use these different colors to be able to do different types of things along a path. It was interesting. I didn't think it would be on a list of the top tools.
20.
Yeah, that seems kind of overrated. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Osmobots are like especially in younger elementary, are just, the best you can get as far as for Steam or maker spaces kind of situation.
I'm surprised that I'm not sure if these are new tools. I guess they're not, right?
No.
Maker's Empire's been around
And
for a while.
Osmobot's not new. I remember I went to some workshops 5 years ago, on it. So it's definitely not new. So it was interesting because I was like, top EdTech tools of 2018. Number one would be something like Flipgrid. You know what I mean? Like something where you're like, everybody is using it. Everybody knows about it. And there's already all of this types of ways to be able to integrate it into every type of content and grade level. I mean, that would be a top of 2018. So yes.
Classcraft. If we're...
I would say it's huge. It's being used in a variety of different ways. And then now they even have an ability to be able to use it with content, which is an amazing, choice quest-based learning. The other one I thought there were some things on here that I thought were strange, like Loom. I don't know if you've ever used this before. One of my coworkers uses or has used it before, and all it is a screencasting tool that's free, but you can also upgrade it to a paid version. But I would recommend multiple tools before I would recommend that one. Screencast-O-Matic, that's free and it's awesome. Screencastify is just a Google Chrome extension. It's super easy to use. You know,
that's the one that I have.
Yeah. Those are super simple, easy to use. I prefer Screencast-O-Matic just because it has some things on there that others don't. But I mean, it's weird that they chose this one. So it makes me wonder. I always have the pessimistic view. Is this like? Does some people pay to be able to get on this list, or what's up with this? You know what I mean?
It's a really weird list. I'm also wondering where the heck, iMovie is, for example.
Where is iMovie? Where is I'm thinking of a million.
Even GarageBand
should be number possibly 3 on this list. I mean,
Minecraft.
You're ignoring millions and millions of copies sold and being used by millions of people around the world. That's strange. That's what I was thinking. And this Khan Academy is not just Khan Academy, but it's Khan Academy Kids. So it's like for these pre-K to K students. But yeah, I was like,
even like Brain Pop.
Yeah, Brain Pop. Yeah, that's not on this list.
I mean,
they have this kind of a Zotero bid, right? And it's a way to be able to cite resources. There's a ton of free websites that do that kind of stuff that are.
It's not that these are bad, no. Right? I don't think we're saying that these are bad. It's just weird that you would make a top 20 list.
Yes.
And you would rate and evaluate some tools and then put out a top 20. And it's just weird that there are things that didn't make it into the top 20 as opposed to things that did.
So
a chess,
I just was looking at that one, Mike. Magnum Kingdom,
which I mean is cool.
It's great,
and
but what?
Yeah,
that's a top 20 tool.
I'll admit, I am tempted to download it so that I can teach Isaac how to play chess, and then we can play chess together. I'm all for that. I just top 20 when compared to things that aren't here. I mean. Oh,
yeah, that's what I thought.
We should get someone on. Hey, listen, if you guys know any of these common sense people that are part of this process,
we want to
know. Tell them to get after us because we want to. I want to talk to them. We need to figure out why.
Yeah,
and I'd love to know their evaluation rubric or whatever.
And this was my favorite part, Mike. It said, this year, we had no trouble narrowing down our top picks to the top 20 best apps, games, and websites. What? It's super hard to do that.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you and I would be fist fighting.
Oh, my God. It would be hard to do the top 50. If you just started listing everything, and then things that you would have to leave off the list, would be kind of some big, significant things. And and this can range so far. I mean, especially because they're like doing apps, games, and websites. So I mean, that includes so many different types of tools that are just fantastic.
Schoology.
How about all the learning management systems? Let's just start, Schoology. Let's start. You're going to go with games. My God. As far as the best, we were talking about what are the best moments of 2018. How about the up and comers like GimKit, or just go with the big time leaders in that category, Kahoot and Quizlet. You know what I mean? Like those are
right.
How could you not list those?
So anyways, there's some things that we've missed. Hey, listen, if you haven't heard of any of the things that we were talking about, then there you go. There's a good, we'll put up this list in the show notes, and then, we just we just named about 20 other things that could have been on this list. So, take a look at it. I guess that's, our value here is that there's a lot of other things out there, and hopefully you take a look at those too, because there's definitely lots of cool resources out there that aren't on this list of resources that I've never heard of.
That's fantastic.
to throw a little more shade. So anyways, and listen, if we're missing something, if we didn't say it, and it's not on this common sense list, then share it with us. Send us a message on Twitter, on the Twitters.
Let us know.
Or wherever. Let us
know.
What
should be on this list.
Right. So, that's that. When we come back, we'll be joined by Diana McGhee. All right, welcome back to the podcast, folks. We are thrilled to be joined on the podcast today by Diana McGhee. Diana is the Chief Information Officer and Director of Technology in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. At FETC, Diana is leading 2 sessions, including one about sourcing and vetting new EdTech tools, which is something, as our listeners would know, especially lately, Glen and I have been talking a lot about. We're really excited. She's with us today. Welcome to the podcast, Diana.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Before we get into a couple questions, especially about this session that I kind of teed up, maybe you can introduce yourself to our listeners, give us a bit of a rundown on your background and your role.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I've been in education for 34 years, and I began as a high school English teacher with a minor in journalism and taught journalism classes at our high school in Fort Thomas. Recently, I did 2 roles, one as the director of technology and one as a high school journalism teacher. Then after I did a few years in the classroom, I decided I wanted to get into some type of administration. So I have a master's and rank 1 in secondary guidance and counseling, which, to say all of that, just to lead you into the fact that you never know where life is going to take you, because none of that prepared me to be a technology director. Mm-hmm. But in the early 90s, when Kentucky was going through a great change as far as it was called CARA, which that stands for the Kentucky Education Reform Act. One of the things that Kentucky did was to strengthen the technology in the state. And so I was hired in 1989 to be our instructional technology specialist. And then in 2001, I took over as the head of the technology department. So I've been in that role. What is this, 18 or 19 years? Can't do the math in my head right now, but a long time, and have seen all kinds of changes in the technology world and department, and specifically in our district.
It sounds like an adventure. I'm actually a history major who ended up being a computer science teacher. So
you understand.
So I understand completely the idea of not knowing, and now I write curriculum for a robotics company. So
awesome.
I know all about not knowing the path that you're going to head down. Which is, and I mean, that's interesting. 18 years. So you've seen a lot of change. That's just
a lot. Yes.
Unbelievable.
starting with, well, we had a token ring network at one point, and then, of course, now we're a fiber district. We own our own fiber. We're a small district, by the way. Fort Thomas is 3,000 students, but area-wise, we're about 4 miles in diameter, and so I think that's really a neat thing because it's small enough to where I can actually have personal contact with the teachers and watch their progression as they learn in this field. But we've gone from a token ring network, and then we went to a more robust network, which is what we have now, which is a fiber network. All of our buildings are fibered back to a core, and we have wireless in all the classrooms. We are a one-to-one district. We have iPads in K5 and MacBook Airs in 612, and that's pretty. It's a big project for us to have undertaken in the last 5 years, but so we've learned something new all the time.
Awesome. I mean, and that'll keep you busy no matter how many schools you got going on. So one of your sessions, and I'm actually gonna, I think, attend this one when we're there because I'm really interested in this conversation. And if you go back, I don't know what episode it was, but Glen and I just literally like maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago had a really long talk about this topic about educational resources, about things that people spend money on and at the district level. And we dedicated a whole lot of time to it. Things that are bought and then not actually used by the teacher, so they end up getting wasted. And I'm interested in your thoughts on that specifically about what's happening there and how, or if you feel like you've been able to avoid that in your own district.
Able to avoid, I'll just have to do full disclosure up front and just say no, we have not been able to avoid that. However, in the last 2 or 3 years, I have, especially when we implemented our digital conversion and all of our resources are digital. So we have had to make a huge investment in various types of software or apps to be able to actually have school because we've done away with most of our textbooks. And I felt very strongly exactly what you're saying is that people were asking all the time, do we have a license for this? Do we have a subscription for that? And I have often wondered as the director of technology how effective are the resources that we're spending so much money on? And B, are we really even using them? Or I should say that's probably the other way around. Are we using them? And then if we are using them, how effective are they? So I think it was 3 years ago, I was at ISTE and had a meeting with a company called the Learn Platform. And they were a startup company at that time and have a product that allows us to create a library of all of the software that we own and even just online resources, maybe even free resources where I can build them in a library so any teacher can go to this site and check to see if we have licenses for a product. And that is one thing that I've been working on for about a year to try to make that whole process better in streamlining purchasing as well as trying to decide if things are being wasted. But able to avoid? No, we're not. We have not completely avoided that, but I feel like we're on a good path to make some better decisions.
So with that in mind, I mean, what in your mind and based on, I guess, your experience, because now, answering the previous question, I mean, you've had experiences where things clearly get adopted well, and you've had experiences where things don't. What are the reasons why some technology that districts purchase and want the schools to adopt just collects dust? Or why do you think it's even worse? Why do you think it might be shunned by teachers or avoided or not used? Do you have a sense of why one thing is maybe successful and another thing may not be?
Well, I've been in this profession a long time, and like I said, 34 years. And the four-letter word that all of us in education complain about all the time is time. The word time is the main reason that I see that resources don't get utilized to their fullest potential is because, well, there's three things: lack of time, lack of training, and lack of support. And so let me address the lack of support first, because one of the things I didn't mention was one of the struggles that you have as the head of a technology department is to make sure you're aware of all the purchases. Because in our district, the schools have purchasing power of their own, and they don't always have to go through the district to purchase a software product or an online subscription. I encourage them to go through the district office, and me in particular, so that I can vet the software and make sure it meets. We have two state laws, House Bill 5 and House Bill 232, that are specific to student data privacy. And so I encourage them to go through me so I can vet the software, or I can have our digital learning coaches help vet the software. But when we don't know about those products that are being purchased, it is hard for the technology department to provide adequate support. And so when teachers don't get adequate support, either learning how to use the software itself or how to troubleshoot the software when things don't work, if they don't get lack of support, they do give up. I mean, I was a classroom teacher myself, and I know that most teachers will try something once, they'll even try it twice, but the third time that they try something and it doesn't work, they will not try it again.
Sure.
So lack of support is crucial, but that's a give and take, because we have to know what we are supposed to be supporting. So in our district, we do have a process. I worked with our chief financial officer to develop a procedure where if he gets a purchase order request for a software or an item of technology hardware, that he is supposed to show those to me if it doesn't have my stamp already on it. And so that's a good procedure to have in place, but it doesn't always work. And then the lack of training is it goes along with the lack of time. Most school districts have a prescribed professional development program or number of hours that they have to cover. And many times teachers put in that extra time to learn whatever they have to learn for whatever the district has decided is the targeted goal for this year. And oftentimes they won't on their own go out and seek training to learn how to use a product or a software. I'm not faulting them for that. They don't have time. So that comes back to that other issue if they don't have time.
Sure.
And so if we could somehow structure either our professional development or our school calendar in such a way that teachers have time to work with each other and to work specifically with products, I think you'll see a lot less of that wastefulness on the idea of software products not being used.
Sure. Hey, Diana, I was thinking about this. Do you have a process for making resource decisions? And is there anything you think you're doing that's unique to make these kind of decisions so we can share with others?
Well, the Learn platform that I spoke of earlier, it does have a process in place where all purchases or requests for purchases would go through that platform. We have not kicked that off in our district yet. Excuse me. But one of the things that we do have is we have a rubric that, especially in elementary K-5, where we have the iPads, is when teachers want us to buy apps to be used for the iPads. We have a work order process. They put a work order in, and then that work order goes to the digital learning coach, who then helps the teacher complete a rubric to decide if the app is worth purchasing or if it meets all of our standard procedures and rules according to student data privacy.
Is that something unique to your district, Diana, or is this like something in Kentucky?
I don't think it's unique to our district. I think there are other districts doing the same thing, but it is not something, mandated or statewide. The part about the student data privacy is because we have two House bills that we are required to follow. But the rubric or the work order process, that's not state mandated, but I guarantee you there are other districts that do the same thing.
Awesome. So Diana, thanks for joining us. This was super interesting. This is a topic that's near and dear to Glen and I both. Diana's session at FETC is on Wednesday, January 30th, and you guys should go and check her out when she's there. We will for sure. Thanks again, Diana, for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to OnEducation. My name is Mike Washburn, and my co-host is Glen Irvin. Do you want to get in touch with us? Check out our website at oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at oneducationpod. Glen is at IrvSpanish on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at Mr. Washburn. Our engineers are Jake and Justin at Podcast Production Team. Check out their website at podcastproductionteam.com. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/oneducationpod. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we'd be thrilled if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost, and this helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Schoology, for supporting us. Check out Schoology.com to learn how they can help you advance what's possible. Thanks as always for listening. Stay awesome. See you soon.